here early. Sometimes it's good to be early. But our show starts at a specific time. You should remember that. Let's get started then, shall we?
Dillon, I don't give a what you think about a co-host and freshen up my show.
It might not be flashy, but sometimes you just got to toss another person to make a statement.
My show's about the people's podcast. Everyone has a voice. I don't need a co-host. Go listen to one of the other 5,000 shows with a co-host because they don't have a mouth like the big guy.
Opie, are you a career killer with Tim Sabian, yourself, and many others?
Be myself. Never had real issues with those people. They just understood that I was a different bird. The rest of them, though, I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm paying your salary because the ratings are so good, so shut up.
Right.
Live from
Somewhere.
it's
Dillon.
Good whatever to you whenever you are watching this episode of Co-Host Auditions as I scramble to get on air before I am particularly late. This is a very punctual audience. They do not like a minute or 5 late, and I fiddle-fucked around a little too long this morning in getting this episode together. Welcome to Co-Host Auditions. I am your co-host, Dillon. Today, our host is Tony Khan. We have got some press scrum footage that's been edited together to bring together a episode that is around 60 minutes long because those press scrums, Jesus, Tony has verbal diarrhea. He does not stop talking, and those press scrums and those members of the press are really just people that are sucking up to him. And if you don't suck up to him, you will not get press credentials and free entry to the following pay-per-view. All Elite Wrestling started. I was there at the very first All Elite Wrestling show in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everything was over like God. The Cody Rhodes versus Dustin Rhodes match, it was emotion like at a concert. I've never felt that at a wrestling match before. A very good show, but there from the start, the signs of them just not knowing when to quit. Doing too much. The Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers match in particular, they had a Canadian destroyer, which many other people will be familiar with, the pile driver. It is a souped up pile driver off a ladder through 2 tables, and the match kept on going. And that is the Young Bucks' big problem, is that they have a lot of matches that just go way beyond their natural ending point and keep on going and could be as good as Dave Meltzer says if they would have ended at their natural point. But the Young Bucks, they are very high-ranking executive vice presidents. Only executive vice presidents I've known to storm a guy's locker room in an aggressive fashion to provoke being punched in the face. We don't know exactly what happened there because Tony Khan is NDA happy. And really, this is a sequel to the Chris Jericho episode. Chris Jericho got drunk on Christmas. Seems like whenever he's got to be around his family for an extended period of time, he gets drunk and goes on Twitter rants. And his wording got, what's his name? Adam Houseman of House of Wrestling. That he was like, how many NDAs have you signed? Seems like Chris Jericho's lawyers were like, hey, Houseman, knock, knock. And Houseman has since backed off from those accusations. And now people have a sour taste in their mouth. From the beginning, All Elite Wrestling was not a business. It was about making friends. And yes, Spurg Snake taking a notice that I am dressed up nicely because Tony is dressed up nicely, except for his fucked up hair. And as you saw, it was actually proper. I had fucked up hair at the very beginning before I fixed that. Annie noticing the thumbnail. Ah, shit, I didn't upload that, but I do have the picture of Tony Khan's face that I use, that he looks scared of me. Tony Khan is scared shitless of constructive criticism. He throws temper tantrums, and he will not accept if you tell him that things are not just the greatest that they have ever been. I thought I uploaded you. I guess I didn't. I will take a moment to upload that. But anyways, the Young Bucks don't take advice from people who are experienced. They know everything, and that is the culture in All Elite Wrestling. I know everything. What do I need to, what do I have to learn from people who have been there before for decades? Because I already know it all. So that is the culture that those fuckheads from Cucamonga brought to the locker room. And that's just what the thought process is in All Elite Wrestling. I know what I'm doing. I'm great. Oh, by the way, Jim Cornette started a little fun gimmick. Every time Tony Khan says great, he gets a little ding. And there is my little ding. Oh, do not loop. There we go. Not looping. But I did have to edit 1 second before and 1 second behind that because as much as he fires off greats like a Tommy gun, then it was too long of a clip, this 3-second clip with a little silence before and after. So a quick, nope, that wasn't it. This is it. So a quick ding whenever we hear great. Take it away, Tony. Don't go too crazy on those greats already. I'm going to upload that Photoshop I have to show your scared face.
If I may say, I believe that there's been a great focus on sports-based pro wrestling. And recently we've seen AEW coming through with some of our best matches, best shows. And I believe with this really enhanced focus on pro wrestling, on sports-based pro wrestling, there's no one better to represent that than Samoa Joe as the world champion. And now, speaking of world champions,
got to give credit where credit is due. Samoa Joe is the most over guy. He has been misused everywhere. I was a fan of TNA Impact Wrestling when Samoa Joe rose to the top, and his world title run, his first run as world champion, they made him look like a fucking bitch. Fuck you, Vince Russo.
Bring it in, boss man.
There it is. There's the same face that I used for the thumbnail here. And Tony Khan. It's just bad-intentioned fans. It's just fans who are being assholes. It's just trolls to be trolls who are talking about anything that isn't just completely glowing of his product. And when he started this, he really needed someone like an Eric Bischoff, who actually WWE locked away for a few months. He was unable to get a Jim Cornette, who he did try to get to the company, but Cornette's not working full-time anywhere. And there's really not a lot of people. Jim Ross was there, but he wasn't put in charge of talent relations, which he loves doing, did for years, and was great at it. Oh, there I go now with my own, give myself a ding there. But he was just relegated to being a on-air personality. There was Arn Anderson who could have filled in doing these behind the scenes, but Tony Khan has been fantasy booking wrestling since he was a teenager. So obviously he was the best person to have all the titles. He has all the titles. Owner, CEO, he already COO, but he does fucking everything in this company because he knows everything. He's got his executive vice presidents who says, we know everything. We just knew it naturally. We're so simpatico, Tony Khan. You know everything just because you're awesome, and we know everything just because we are the best wrestlers in the history of wrestling, which is bullshit. I need to get that drop from our good buddy, that bullshit drop.
Oh, wonderful.
You're wonderful.
Mr. Khan,
Miss Storm,
Anthony,
Miss Storm,
Ashley.
Miss Storm, it's great to be here with you.
I'm very excited for the future.
The camera is kind of haphazard in this one, Annie. It is these people have been working all fucking day. These All Elite Wrestling events run 6 fucking hours, and then Tony Khan has to be praised at these little play press conferences, which should be run by like an Arn Anderson or something. But Arn Anderson got his paychecks. He got the fuck out of there. And yeah, pretty much everyone who can hold that position has been in the company and didn't get it, or WWE has locked down. Jim Cornette would have been great for it, but yeah, he didn't fucking want it. He's too old. He doesn't want that hassle. Eric Bischoff squandered a lot of his money in an ill-fated Buffalo Bill Cody beer, which if he just wouldn't have chosen that name, he wouldn't have got in a lawsuit and lost a lot of his fucking money.
Me too.
Very happy. 2024 is going to be crazy. And I know what you're thinking.
Do you?
Unfortunately, StreamYard doesn't play as nicely with all these new emojis. So, dang it, can't show what those actual emojis are here on that.
You want to wear the hat, don't you?
Oh, please.
He wants to wear the hat, right?
You guessed.
Oh,
Guessed right.
you are, darling.
This is gonna. Okay. Good. Well,
Oh,
And I have talked a fucking lot for the first 10 minutes of this, which does go very well with my verbal diarrhea having host here, Tony Khan.
Christmas colors.
you've never looked better.
Thank you very much, champ. Thank you, Tony Storm. What a world champion. One of the great stars in pro wrestling right now. Tony Storm, the AEW Women's World Champion once again, and alongside her, somebody making her debut this coming week on AEW Wednesday Night Dynamite on TBS, her first ever AEW wrestling match, Miss Mariah May.
So this part was shown up front to show how he got the hat and why the fuck he got this hat, because the next clip is very inappropriate, that he is all pimped out, looking like Kramer when he got arrested for solicitation when he was just being stylish.
My number one fan.
Great.
Isn't she a darling? Okay, that's enough.
Steve Fall again from Wrestling News Co. For question for both of you, the women's division is expanding, obviously growing, tag team championships. In the future, Tony?
Something I think would be great. It definitely, we've shown we can expand our programming, and certainly there's been some of the best, I think, matches and some of the most exciting rivalries.
That's another thing that AEW takes criticism for, that Tony Khan won't fucking hear. Too many goddamn belts. He owns a second wrestling company, Ring of Honor. It's a dead company. So Ring of Honor, the Young Bucks, they got themselves over, and they left Ring of Honor in such poor shape that they were on the rise. They booked Madison Square Garden, and then those people who are good for the business, the Young Bucks, they absolutely got themselves over, got the company under, and put them in such a shitter that now they are just AEW light.
We've ever had in the women's division just in recent weeks and months. And Julia Hart, as the TBS champion, has been at the epicenter of that, a huge part of it. So absolutely, I think that would be tremendous, and it's something I'm very open to doing. I think it would be great. There's a lot of great tandems, some that are active right now that could be great for that, and there's also some that haven't teamed in a while that could be great for that. People that could become, absolutely. That's more, a lot of other examples. Sure, that's a fine picture.
I could do tallies or I could do dings. I couldn't do both. That is where Jim Cornette landed on the dings with the great counts as well. Here we have the boss dressed up like a pimp, Tony Khan, but he really is the head friend in charge. He started this company to buy a lot of friends, and that's why CM Punk isn't there anymore, is because he wasn't going to be friends with these people that he absolutely detests. He was willing to work with them, but those people who he wasn't friends with was like, he doesn't play nice. We're not going to play with him. No, I don't play. I work.
And so that I do think there's a lot of great opportunities there, and it's something certainly to keep an eye on.
Buying friends is the easiest way to make friends, especially when I keep calling Tony a billionaire man-child, but his father is a billionaire who decided, you know what would be fun? If I saw my children being happy with their inheritance while I was still alive. Have at it, Tony. Throw all this money down the toilet and don't worry about profits. Just have fun buying friends.
You're remiss if I didn't ask. This is actually a question for Tony. There's a lot of conversation, especially the last couple of days, about the issue of safety and harassment, specifically involving women wrestlers. Without getting too.
That wasn't part of the approved questions. What are you talking about? Just talk about things that are fun and praise me. Give me praise. And here we go, the Chris Jericho NDAs. While Tony Khan still doesn't have the thought to take off his pimp hat and pimp glasses.
Much into the details, or some people may not want their names mentioned. But there have been a lot of conversations, and there's real concern from wrestlers, from fans, from media alike, about the safety of wrestlers behind the scenes. So, like, what has been done specifically to prevent issues like sexual harassment in the AEW locker room, both, in the past and going forward? Because this is something that should always be looked at. I think it's very important.
It's a great question, Kevin, and I think
Thank you for asking that question, which I am going to do my best to avoid. So give us a straight answer. What are you doing to protect women? And the only person, Andrade El Idolo, punched a guy in the face trying to get fired, and Tony Khan wouldn't do it. But this lady who just said, you know what, I'm not feeling it here. Can I go? The only one that he just let out the door. So, yeah, I'm on the side of Chris Jericho did something inappropriate. She clearly has something in her noggin. Like she had a Bailey character, someone who is over positive. So that was her conquering her inner demons of having some noggin problems of being an over positive character. And Chris Jericho's wiener wrecked that.
applies to everybody in the company, women and men, and it's something we're very serious about, and we've had a policy in place. And certainly, I think any time there's anything like that, we would make sure we do everything we can to prevent it. AEW has the best safety record, I believe, of any.
Matt Hardy got a concussion on live television, and everyone who was there to keep him safe were just like, you're supposed to finish the match, and you let a very concussed Matt Hardy finish the match. Bullshit.
Pro wrestling company in the world. I believe we have the most safe environment. I believe we have the best safety record of any pro wrestling company, and I would hold the record of AEW on safety against any wrestling company in the world. And I think AEW is the safest place for pro wrestling. And if any of our wrestlers ever have a concern, they always have an open line to talk to me.
This is non-disclosure wrestling, Richie. Tony Khan just throws, anytime anyone has contact with AEW behind the scenes, they've got to sign an NDA. Jim Cornette, in talking about just the dealings with them before they came to be, it said he signed all sorts of NDAs when it was unnecessary. It is a friend scam. This is a pyramid scheme of friends. You see, Tony's at the top of the pyramid of friends, and he bought 2 friends, and then they buy 2 friends apiece, and it just keeps going down further. But what, the whole entire world is going to be friends? I know how pyramid schemes work, Tony. My brother got caught up in one.
And I believe anybody would sit here and tell you they always can talk to me anytime they are concerned about anything. Well, certainly,
nope, no issues ever. It's without being very specific. We are safe. Yeah, he pivoted from the sexual harassment stuff to just overall safety, both of which are very suspect in his company. Oh, friends.
If there was anything that came to light to me, I would.
Chris Jericho came. Hey-o.
Take it to the disciplinary committee. And, that's how we've been doing it. And I think the
disciplinary committee that's existed for a month. We are talking about some indiscretions that happened years ago. So since there was no disciplinary committee, she had no one to take it to. Tony?
Our disciplinary committee has been doing a great job. And everybody knows they have an open line to me or anybody on that committee.
But Tony ghosts people. This is well documented. Tony loves talking to people when there is good news. When there is bad news, he will ghost you. When he's not, he will keep you under contract. WWE is fiscally responsible, and if they're done with you, they will fire you. Tony Khan will keep paying you and ghost you and leave a bad taste in your mouth, just like Chris Jericho did to Kylie Ray.
USA Today Sports Media Group. A lot of chatter today on social.
If Chris Jericho was eating pineapple rather than that asparagus, then maybe that taste wouldn't be so awful in all those ladies' mouths that Chris Jericho got to sign those NDAs.
Media regarding Chris Jericho. Is Chris Jericho or was Chris Jericho at any time under any internal investigation?
1,000-yard stare that Tony Khan has. Okay, I can't answer this. How can I answer this without answering this? What type of word salad can I whip up as he is directly answering me this? Can I just repeat what I said before about safety being paramount here at the company where people get concussions and the match just keeps going? And it does look like he has a black eye there, but that's his hair just doing something weird, as my hair likes to do at times.
For sexual misconduct, any other type of misconduct over the course of his tenure in AEW?
I can't speak to internet and unsourced rumors. I think I spoke earlier to Kevin and mentioned the.
So just nothing to say whatsoever. This thing that has been in the news for quite a while since drunk Chris Jericho avoided his family and went on a Twitter temper tantrum. I can't address that at all. Why would I address something that the entire wrestling world is talking about?
Policy we have in place and the disciplinary process, we've always followed that. And I believe AEW is the safest wrestling company in the world. And we have the best.
Your referees are not trained to safely get an injured wrestler out of the ring. Stevie Richards actually covers different wrestling incidents. He covers some things that he fucked up himself. And Tony Khan, when something egregious happened on television and a referee just let the match go with a very clearly injured wrestler go, Tony just struck Stevie Richards' channel instead of addressing the issue of it's the referee's job to get an injured wrestler to safety as soon as possible. This press conference was one of the shorter press conferences. It was just shy of 2 hours. These, after a 6-hour long day of wrestling bullshit, and if it was 3 hours, I would call it a show. 6 hours is bullshit. These do run like 2.5, 3 hours very often. This was the shortest one at just under 2 hours.
Track record for safety, and I would hold it up to anybody. And anytime anybody has any kind of complaint, they have an open door again to say it to me or to anyone in the office, and we would.
Chris Jericho has an open door as well, ladies. Mm-hmm. Don't you want to come into Chris Jericho's door, ladies? Door doesn't work for you fellas. Get the fuck out of here.
Look into it anytime. So just Kevin earlier asked about that policy, and I think I gave a pretty.
Looking into it was the whole problem. Chris Jericho looked into it without permission.
Robust answer on that, and it would apply here too.
Awkward smile. No, that's enough of that. You guys asked it twice. I let you into this event because you're part of the friend circle. I bought 2 friends and they bought 2 friends, and you made the promise that you're a friend. He treats the network like they are a friend. The CW network came a knocking at his door, said, "Hey, you got this Ring of Honor that doesn't have television. Can we have it? And give you a few $1,000,000 a year for it?" He was like, "No, WB Discovery are my friends, and I will hold it off. They don't want it now, but when it comes time to renegotiate, they might want it then." So it still exists only on a site where like a dozen or less people are watching this Ring of Honor show when it could be on network television. Well, a variation of broadcast television on the CW network. And the network is my friend. That's why I'm hoping WWE gets a contract for Raw on TNT to just watch his heart break like Ralph Wiggum. You will be able to see the moment that Tony's heart breaks.
I feel really strongly about the people in AEW and also some of the people that
Chris Jericho felt very strongly about Kylie Ray.
Could come to AEW. I think it's going to be a really great year for us. But I do think like I said, the challenger spirit. It's important for us to keep that, even if we have.
Oh, I forgot to pull a picture of the Challenger shuttle, because I do agree with Tony that AEW has the Challenger spirit, that they take off and then explode in the air. Orange Cassidy is a great example of that. He's someone I look at like Disco Inferno, who is just an annoying little twat. He doesn't try. If I was going to be a fan of someone who puts in no effort at all, I would still watch the Shuley channel. But no, I don't like Shuley. I don't like Orange Cassidy. If Orange Cassidy came with his hands in his pockets and just lightly kicked some guy's ankles and got his ass kicked, I would like the Orange Cassidy character. But no, he's pushing this guy who puts in no effort and doesn't care as one of his top stars. Just make Shuli Egar one of your top stars.
Built an identity, grown the business, and even if things are hot in many ways and we've had a great year, if you lose that challenger spirit, I think for us, the word that we've always thrown around a lot in the back is punk rock. And if you lose that,
now the word punk is banned in AEW, and bullshit. AEW is like pop punk. AEW is Green Day. If we are AEW is Blink 182. It's a parody of punk rock. It is fucking not punk rock, you fucking poser horseshit bastard. So Tony Khan, he appears to be what is it? I can't even think of it. Yeah, his eyes don't blink and all. It's like an ADD medication that people abuse. Is the most prominent rumor of the drug that Tony is on. But we will see a puppet fellow who believes that he's on the powder version at the end of this. Yes, that puppet fellow made an appearance in the Chris Jericho episode, and he will make an appearance at another one. AEW, I tried. I gave him a chance. I watched their show on TNT for like 3 months before I was like, no, this can't do it. It was supposed to be more of like a throwback, a sports-based wrestling, but Tony Khan doesn't know what sports-based wrestling is, and he just lets everyone do what they want to do. There is no vision. There is no executive producer. He's very much like Kathleen Kennedy, who just let Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams do whatever the fuck they want. She was supposed to look out for the trilogy of Star Wars sequels, and she just let the directors be her buddies and do whatever they wanted, and there is no overall vision in the Star Wars sequel, like there is no overall vision in AEW. Just go out there and do whatever the fuck you want.
That punk rock feel, then I think you change what AEW is. So there's times where I felt myself getting away from it, and I've said, no, this is punk rock. And so I want it to be punk rock. And I think that's what we need to do here to set ourselves apart. It's good to see you.
And AEW does feel a lot like WWE. It feels like a goofier version of WWE, Spurg Snake. Vince McMahon was in the Vince McMahon business. He pushed Vince McMahon to the moon. He killed wrestling. Wrestling as a facade of something that's a sport is what I enjoy. Something that's a facade of a sport, and I can kind of buy. You know, I know that, but there's a performance. FTR is under the AEW banner, and those guys put on matches that are indeed sports based, and you can lose yourself and make it feel like it's competition. And people are just supermen now. They kick out of everything. The first time I actually noticed that was at a WWE pay-per-view, either in DC or Baltimore. Over 10 years ago now, where Kofi Kingston versus Dolph Ziggler. Got to be careful there. Oh my goodness, I almost said a naughty word. But Kofi drop kicked Dolph sternum first into the turnbuckle, and then did a roll up pin. And I was like, that's it. That's the end. But no, it didn't end there. Things must end with the finisher in WWE. It is pure entertainment, and they are much better than AEW. If it's a this or that, I'm not going to watch Raw. I'm not going to watch those 3 hours of Raw hurt. I'll watch SmackDown. No All Elite Wrestling for me. Not again. You lost my trust, Mr. Khan.
Corey Lee with the Wrestling Observer. I just want to get a couple questions about the gate and attendance. You did mention it was a sellout. Do you have an official attendance and official gate for the event?
Well, it was the gate was
That's a
I
soft
don't have
spot
the
for
exact
Tony
number on the
Khan.
gate, but it was a big gate. It was a sellout.
It's a really big gate. The gate is just the biggest gate that this building has ever seen. AEW is the biggest organization going today. We've got Trump Khan here.
Out and
Trump himself was supposed to be the Khan, Tony.
Would I be comfortable? It was just under 10,000, close to 10. Just around close to 10,000. I think over just around 10,000, close within
10,000? Was it 10,000? 10,000? 10,000? Not quite 10,000. Let's round up to 10,000. 10,000?
Your shot. Over 9,500, or closer to 10,000.
Yeah. And then the second question I have, again, there's bringing this up again, but it's just, again, there's a lot of stuff going on the internet right now. And there are a lot of questions about a lot of different people, and there are questions. Obviously, Chris Jericho was brought up earlier in the thing. Again, from
fear struck Tony Khan as the name Chris Jericho was brought up again.
From as a general manager standpoint in this situation, can you confirm or deny that there's been an investigation with him, or has there ever?
Same question as the other guy earlier. But could you answer this time?
Been any accusations or anything like that in regards to Chris's behavior? And like I said, these are all basically internet. And again, there are people in this who have an agenda.
Please give me free tickets to the next pay-per-view, Tony. I'm sorry I have to ask this, but it's my job to actually ask a real question here. Please, I'm sorry for this question, but everyone wants to know, so I'm going to report it on my site, and I'm going to give you the best glowing review I can possibly give. So, Chris Jericho, Tony Khan?
But again, these questions do need to be asked, and obviously, like I said, as respectfully as I want to be in this situation, is just to kind of just bring it up and just ask as best as we can, because again, there also was another situation. Former talent of AEW did post something that has been perceived as a confirmation of these
okay, good apologizing for the question.
I can't speak to that. I would just say what I had.
Remember when I avoided the question earlier and I said the thing everyone's talking about on the internet I won't address? You were dressed to Jinder Mahal. Oh, by the way, I tagged Tony Khan on Twitter on this before. He got Jinder Mahal more over than he's ever been over in his career. Tony Khan got Jinder Mahal over more than any other wrestler on his roster besides Samoa Joe. And they let Samoa Joe just be Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe kicks ass. I would like to watch the Samoa Joe segments on AEW and nothing else.
Mentioned to Kevin earlier that, we have a disciplinary policy here. We have a disciplinary committee that things are referred to, and that everybody in AEW, anybody who's ever wrestled in AEW, has an open line to talk to me or this group, and always has.
If you speak critical of Tony Khan in any way, you are out of the friend. What did I call it? The friend circle, the friend scam. We are running a friend scam here. We are all friends. I will think of that letter again. Multi-level friends here at AEW.
And that's how we've always acted. And that's why I believe AEW has the safest environment. AEW is the safest place in pro wrestling. And it's why AEW has definitely the best safety record in wrestling. And I believe we maintain that. Thank you.
If you had referees who were trained to keep the wrestlers safe rather than, that's not the finish. What do we do? That is absolutely not. So, Christian Bale, what do you think of AEW being the safest wrestling organization?
No!
He says no. Maybe Lily Tomlin thinks different. Lily Tomlin, don't you think that AEW is a safe place to work?
No!
Nope. Sorry, we're 0 for 2 on fictional characters. Buying into your "this is safe" bullshit, Tony.
You guys did it clear. What is the process in regards to the doctors and obviously the staff to basically take the decision out of wrestlers? Because I'm pretty sure Keith wanted to wrestle tonight.
Absolutely.
but it's a situation where you guys took it out of his hand.
That was the case.
Okay, and now we are on the safety issue. There was someone who is not medically cleared. So luckily, people who aren't medically cleared before the match, they will actually pull them out of the match. But someone who gets injured in the match, and wrestling used to be very improvisation based, but now it's just step 1, 2, step 1, 2. We rehearse this before the people came in here, and flip 1, 2, and moonsault 1, 2. So they are just completely lost when things don't go in the steps that they planned out beforehand. When the improvised wrestling, that's where it's at. A few planned high spots, but improvising in between. It's
It resulted in changes, and it was big for Dustin to step up because I think the fans really wanted to see a great match. Dustin helped deliver it, but also I think the fans, it was very obvious the fans wanted to see Swerve wrestle, and
I wasn't
is
hovering over the
something
ding.
that fans are paying to see, which is really bodes well for AEW. It's been a great year for us, and he's been a huge part of it. I think Keith absolutely did want to wrestle. There is a process there, and it involves a doctor examining the wrestler every time before they go out and wrestle, but also keeping in touch with them during the week. And Keith mentioned he got injured
just like Chris Jericho keeps in touch with the females members of the roster.
In his match at Final Battle. He had a great match with Shane Taylor, a hard-hitting match in Dallas at Final Battle.
Chris Jericho can't be as hard-hitting as he once was with the female wrestlers. There could be a joke there. A joke with China. Chris Jericho actually did have a wrestling storyline with China for a bit, and she was actually an awful, terrible wrestler, but she had the look. Did she ever?
And then after that, Keith had gotten back in the ring and had a great match with Brian Cage. Did a great number on Collision, and I was really excited. Of course, like Swerve said, he's red hot, and with Swerve having the best record of all coming out of the Continental Classic in terms of wins, losses.
And that's what really got Jinder Mahal over on Twitter. Tony Khan, have you seen Jinder Mahal's record? He hasn't won a match in a long time. It's bullshit, Tony. It's even but when it was still sports based, it was bullshit. When a big angle, as they say, happened, when a big storyline happened, people can jump the line if their record is dog shit.
But not actually being
the audience will give them a certain amount of leeway. But no, he hasn't won matches. He hasn't earned a right to face Seth Rollins.
In the Continental Classic final, based on how the league finals played out, I thought it made sense to have this great resolution. Talk about World's End. It was something people wanted to see, and the timing was right. And Keith had really been getting it going on Collision. And I thought it was going to be true collision of sorts to have Keith Lee and Swerve. But Keith today, when he went in to see the doctor, his injury had gotten worse during the week. And really, it was worse than it was after the Shane Taylor match, and it was worse than it was before.
Unfortunately, this Keith Lee fellow, he has the look. He doesn't have the voice. Jim Cornette has often called him Fraser Crane because he likes to speak very intelligently, but it just doesn't fit the look that this Keith Lee has. And unfortunately, he is a bit old. It seems like he's breaking down more often and just won't be able to be a consistent member of the roster. Rochi, so if you didn't know, Tony Khan is allegedly on drugs. That was from earlier. This is the one I was trying to pull up. Tony showed the world that if they didn't know, he is a mark. He is 100% a wrestling fanatic, an online wrestling fan, the message board tough guy, many more times over than he is a business owner, a company owner, a company leader of All Elite Wrestling. There have been many reports he's on Twitter when he is supposed to be running the show. He believes the most important part of running a wrestling show is having his phone right here, being on Twitter, getting the instant feedback. And that's not going to change. He is in his own fart bubble, sniffing his own farts, and he says, "It smells great. Come on in."
Or after the Brian Cage match, this swelling had gone up. And with the swelling being what it was,
Chris Jericho's swelling went up. Kylie Ray ran away, and Tony made her sign an NDA. Hey, that kind of flowed like a Dr. Seuss rhyme, didn't it?
Doctor didn't feel comfortable clearing Keith, so it's a tough call. But the doctor did what he thought was right, and I respect the medical team's decision. And I thought it was still big for Swerve to go out there and get that massive reaction and inflict a lot of violence, which is what people.
I haven't been watching the product. This fellow Swerve it is said to be absolutely on fire. So good for him. Hopefully he doesn't have a long-term contract and he can show up somewhere else. Unfortunately, there is only one other somewhere else, which is WWE. It's hit or miss there. Even LA Knight almost didn't get his big role happening. Always going to put over LA Knight because he made himself happen. They were burying him because Vince McMahon had a great idea, which was really awful. And he grew up 2 towns over from me. So go LA Knight. Oh, speaking of that thumbs up there, we are a good halfway or more in this program, which is where I put the chill segment. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment after it's over. It helps the algorithm out there. Tony Khan, please tell me what a shithead I am and make me more over than I've ever been, just like you did Jinder Mahal. But thank you for joining 11:30 a.m. Eastern here that we broadcast regularly. It may move around as I get a job 3 days a week, Tuesday through Thursday. Commenting helps, chatting helps. And I just lost a couple viewers with that shill segment. I tried to make it as quick as possible, but that does help in getting people to actually subscribe and sharing with other foolish people who like foolish things. Because let's be honest, I'm being a fool on the internet.
Wanted to see Swerve do. That's great. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. And now we can talk a little bit about World's End. It was great having some of the top stars from World's End in the show up here, I thought. And the pay-per-view has been a huge success for us. Really a great time for
this pay-per-view was regarded by everyone as the worst pay-per-view that they have ever put on. So you're lying to yourself. You're lying to us. No one liked this. There was like one match that people liked. But go on. Tell us how fantastic things are doing and get away from that Tony the Tiger word. Oh, Tony the Khan here. Everything's
company.
great.
Just to run down some details before I start taking questions about some of the exciting things happening. Just to recap, this past week was a really great week for AEW across the board in terms of the business. On Saturday last week, we posted a top 10 number from the chart I've seen for Collision.
Your show has not grown at all since debuting. You have the same 750,000 people watching that have watched there from the beginning. You had over 1 million people watching the first episode and you ran them off. They didn't like it. You don't care to grow this product. You were super serving an audience of under 1 million people. And sometimes AEW does get over 1 million people watching because they're watching The Big Bang Theory. Repeats of The Big Bang Theory leading into AEW get a good 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 more people watching than AEW, this first run programming. But wrestling is kind of like reality television in that it is relatively cheap for this brand new first run exclusive programming to put on the air. So that is how they justify having this thing that hasn't grown at all. You can say things are growing. That's a lie. It's been stagnant since day one. Actually, it went down slightly since day one, and it's been a straight line of stagnant, just slightly moving up or down.
Finished ahead of
like Chris Jericho's penis.
NBA. Collision finished ahead of a lot of the top sports against top football competition. Third straight week, the Collision rating had gone up, and we've seen the Collision rating going up against the toughest.
The Collision rating was going up with CM Punk at the head of it. He actually did have an executive position, and he was an executive producer to make sure that things were going more in that actual sports-based direction that Tony Khan promised us from the beginning. And I actually promised that I was going to give that Saturday show Collision a shot after their last pay-per-view in Wembley. But unfortunately, they fired the guy who was making that program good. The ratings took a dip, and now they're trying to work their way back up to where they were months ago.
Football competition of the year. Typically, the NFL, number one, always the toughest media property in the world. and college football bowl games are the toughest things you can go up against, but the collision rating
Tony has
continued
bowl
to
games
go
before
up.
and after every
I think
wrestling
it's a tribute
program.
to the great wrestling we've been putting on there. The Continental Classic is a great part of it. The women's
Adderall. That's the word I couldn't think of. Adderall is the drug that people most point to saying, I think that's what Tony Khan is abusing.
division has been on fire. A lot of great people doing great work.
He definitely smokes pot. That came out when the terrible ladies wrestler Big Swole was ghosted and Tony let her contract run out. She started talking shit about him, and then oh yeah, well I wished you the best, but you know what? You stink, Big Swole, which she did, but you didn't believe that at the time when she was under your company because she was part of that fart sniffing bubble, and you were farting together and both saying farts.
And so I think the recent run of collisions there has been some of the best TV we've ever done. And like I said, 3 straight weeks, the rating has gone up. And this week to have a top 10 finish and beat out NBA and a lot of other top
beat out like Chris Jericho
competition. That was really great for AEW. Then with Dynamite, after posting the biggest collision rating since October and going up again week after week, despite the
There's
toughest
no such
competition
thing
of
as
the year.
Scotchtober,
Dynamite,
Tony.
we posted our biggest rating since Grand Slam in September. So over 3 months, a really, really strong run of television culminated in this big week, the biggest week of ratings we've had in months, and really a strong week for momentum for the company. Then coming here tonight, we had a sellout show. It was a huge deal for the company. The crowd was tremendous. And in addition to the sellout live crowd, we had
tremendous. Look at you using some different words there. Nice job, Tony the Khan. So their big star, their big match at this pay-per-view was MJF versus Samoa Joe. And as I said, Samoa Joe is on a hell of a run. They're letting him do what he wants to do, and he is doing it great. Give myself a little ding there. And he was facing MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, whose gimmick was he was a dick. He was the worst bad guy until he found the power of friendship. And that turned him into a good guy. I didn't have friends before, but thank you for showing me the light and being my friend, Adam Cole. And that's really a whole lot of the All Elite Wrestling storylines is middle school drama bullshit. You were my friend. You were supposed to be my friend. You said we were friends. And that's why I can't fucking do it. I gave you guys a few months and I can't do it.
Here at Nassau Coliseum, which was a dream come true to work here in this building for so many of the great wrestlers. It was a really big deal to have the sellout crowd. And then the pay-per-view, which we haven't talked that much about. The pay-per-view was a huge hit. The pay-per-view will end up, it's right now, it looks like
no one liked it. No one liked it. And he does get into how this year in pay-per-view has brought more revenue than any other year because you had more of them. So there was more money-making opportunities. It wasn't because that they were decent.
About the same as Full Gear, which was the biggest pay-per-view we've had since All In Wembley Stadium. All of these pay-per-views have been huge hits. We've on a really great streak of shows all year. All the pay-per-views over 100,000 buys. This one way over that. And again, this will probably end up very close to
100,000 buys,
which was our biggest pay-per-view since All In Wembley, which is one of the top 2 AEW pay-per-views of all time.
Say it right. Hulk Hogan taught me that it is pronounced Wembley.
So we're finishing the biggest year of AEW on pay-per-view we've ever had. So it's been a tremendous business year. Thanks to all of you and of course all the great wrestlers and this great staff. And
hi, Tony. Kimmy Sokol from the Pop Break. Now, speaking about the women's division,
Take your
you
braces
recently
out when you're talking to me, Kimmy. You got your retainer in, and I can't hear you as good if you took your retainer out before you got up to your microphone, Kimmy.
added a new championship to Ring of Honor. What was kind of the idea behind introducing the women's TV title?
Another fucking title. Let's leap. I did get up to 24 minutes for this, and I talked a lot, which shows that we can have a verbal diarrhea off, Tony. I thought I was going to be your verbal Pepto-Bismol, but you do like people farting in your bubble. to sniff it along with you. Let's play some battle shits, and I can have my verbal diarrhea. You have your verbal diarrhea, and hopefully, I'm more about time limits. As I've said, I like to keep these shows at 60 to 90 minutes. So as we are just verbal diarrheaing in each other's mouth and saying that it smells fantastic, or I suppose, rather, it smells great, I will help you keep these time limits under fucking control.
Our Chief Merchandising Officer, Dana Massey, who I really appreciate.
Our chief merchandising officer, she just left the company. She was the wife of one of the young bucks, the executive vice presidents, who are just the smartest because they are naturally the smartest. Don't need to listen to anyone, and the merchandise has driven me up a wall. The reason she got that position as chief of merchandise is because she put in the orders to Pro Wrestling Tees, an offshoot of 1 Hour Tees, and they press the t-shirts per order. And that's what they kept doing. They're not doing it in-house. You do this shit in-house. You order them in big bulks, and any AEW live show, the reports are across the board that they do not have enough stuff. That's where the fans are most rabid, and they want to buy your merch, and you're not stocking them. You're not buying them in bulk. You're just sending it off to this other third-party company to press it per order, and no, that's a poor business plan. But it was the wife of my friend. And if I were to fire the wife of my friend, then my friend won't be my friend. And that messes up my whole pyramid scheme of friends, because he's one at the top. All the friends that he bought will no longer be my friends because I bought him. Gee whiz.
He's done great work and has been with us since the very beginning of the company.
Nope, not great work. Below average work.
Dana is
even World Championship Wrestling in their shittiest days of the early 90s did this stuff in-house, and they had their merchandise stocked, and they printed off probably way too many, probably like the third world countries that get the Super Bowl winner shirts of the losing team. They probably got a lot of Little Stinger shirts in 1993 because, oops, not enough people wants to buy them.
Really, really great person. She's a very wonderful lady. She has a great family. And I got to know her before there was an AEW, and she's one of the first people that took a chance on this, and one of the first people that took this idea, this dream.
A 6-hour show followed by a 3-hour press conference where this guy, a lot of the questions that he asked, I cut them up into pieces. Just a simple question he would go on 6, 7, 8 minutes about. So we're going to stick with this for about another minute and a half and then go to our ending segments.
Seriously. And without Dana, and if she hadn't convinced Matt to get on the phone with me and take this seriously, I don't know that we'd all be here. And
he considers what he's doing taking it seriously. The fact that he's just booking this, he's running this company the same as he fantasy booked as a teenager. He thinks this is seriously. Isn't that cute? Oh, you little cute guy, aren't you, Tony Khan?
Part of what we've done, and I also wanted to thank her. And also wanted to thank all of you.
She's held back the revenue
really
that you
appreciate
could
all
have
of you
had.
being here, giving us your time, staying here to cover
running
this.
that merch division.
Pro wrestling. I think 5 years ago when AEW came in, I believe our
just like Chris Jericho came in Kylie Ray
launch, I believe our presence has changed pro wrestling, and I think AEW has done great things.
It has not changed pro wrestling. It has just continued to perpetrate the cartoon world that WWE established after killing off the National Wrestling Alliance. WCW killed the NWA. They did kind of carry it for a while, but
for the wrestling business, and none of it would have been possible without all of you covering the shows when we launched. Many of you were there, and
I was there.
Gave us a chance to reach out to the fans and tell them about our dream for pro wrestling. And
whoa, Chris Jericho is reaching out to the fans now. Fucking careful, Tony. It's one thing behind the scenes that he's reaching out to ladies inappropriately there, but reaching out inappropriately to the fans, especially because there's cameras everywhere and people have phones, there's going to be evidence of this. You can NDA them all you want. There is going to be hard proof of Chris Jericho reaching out to these people.
Now, this week, we celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the company. So I appreciate all of you, the wrestling media, who gave us a chance and gave us a platform and an opportunity to
I gave you a
show who
chance.
we are and talk about who we are.
And what you gave me?
When we launched this company, we didn't have any TV. And really, we disseminated our information. We shared our information. We streamed things. We did interviews with a bunch of you. You gave us.
Did Chris Jericho stream? Because golden showers are very niche. Giving them, that seems hot. I can understand why Chris Jericho would be into them. But receiving, that is a more niche group.
It's a platform, and it was the interest that you helped us get. It was the buzz you helped create just by giving us a fair chance to talk about what we were trying to do here.
I gave you a fair chance,
get on.
And I walked away. And you tried to get me into this friend pyramid scheme. I was like, no, I want to be in a fan scheme where I give you money for T-shirts. But this thing you're putting forward, nope, reject.
TBS that helped us get on TNT, and now we've been there over 4 years, and we're going into the biggest year of them all, and we're in a great position. And you've all been.
Well, if you're just counting up, 2024 is bigger than 2023. That's technically correct. It's bigger than 2020 just by the actual number. That number is bigger than the year before, but it's stagnant. That video game was supposed to help you guys, and the base gameplay is fun on the AEW video game. It feels a lot like Def Jam Fight for New York, but it was released incomplete, and months later, after many patches, it still feels incomplete.
Been very fair to us, and I really appreciate all of you.
And it's your buddy. You gave your buddy Kenny Omega full reign over the video game division because he's a fan of video games. He never worked on a video game in his life, and he wasted everyone's time on the development team by making them focus and be sure that these Mario Party games were part of the game, and every other aspect suffered. They could have fine-tuned aspects like the Batman Arkham games over on What Is This Game with Annie. We covered Arkham Asylum yesterday, and we'll be covering Arkham City next time. The Rocksteady team absolutely refined and fine-tuned those games to make them be just the greatest. Ding myself. And the AEW game is just all over the place, and I point the finger at those Mario Party-esque mini games for dragging down the rest of the things where they couldn't hyper-focus and really get those screws completely tight.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was Tony Khan. We jumped around a little bit. I thought I was going to be some verbal Pepto-Bismol, but I just added to Mr. Khan's verbal diarrhea, so that doesn't bode well for what I was saying and how I could help him with his verbal diarrhea. Verbal diarrhea plus verbal diarrhea. We're going to get verbal shit all over the place. I apologize. I was not the verbal Pepto-Bismol that I was hoping to be. But this is constructive criticism. Tony Khan will not take it that way. He will just say that I am just mean-spirited. It's just mean-spirited. It's not constructive criticism. No, Tony Khan, it was. Now, let's go to our good friends over at Toonie Town Wrestling. We've got some puppets doing a lot of funny stuff, poking fun at our buddies at AEW. So here is the My NDA song by Toonie Town Wrestling.
Young girl, go see Chris Jericho. I said young girl, so we can party with Blow. We'll all be there. But in the event that we're not, you can't talk about seeing his balloon not corn.
I fucking love that Tony Khan. This Tony Khan puppet is definitely on cocaine, not Adderall. I am of the belief that Tony is on Adderall, not cocaine, but there is something. He makes me look like the Blinky Jedi, Richard Ojeda. And I know I do not blink enough. I've been told that, but Tony Khan's non-blinking, just very intense eyes makes me look like Richard Ojeda.
Cornette had a conversation with me about how no one but me will write my TV, but he can't tell. This to Great Brian last. We gotta keep the past in the past. because it's time to sign my NDA. So even when you're gone, you'll still talk my way. I'm trying to make great TV for everyone to enjoy while doing cocaine with all the boys. That's why you have to sign my NDA, because there's lots of shit that you shouldn't say. It's a shit show in here with no leader to guide, and I got so much shit to hide.
That was a little taste of my NDA from Toonie Town Wrestling. They do the full YMCA parody in that song, and we are going to get out of here in just over an hour because we have one more segment, the usual segment. And whoops, I opened that over here instead of over here now. What AEW maybe they need instead of some, well, I said verbal Pepto-Bismol, and I bet you a nurse might have some verbal Pepto-Bismol. So let's go to Nurse Kaboom to get a little help with our shit coming out of our mouth problems.
There's no need to be afraid of me. I don't bite. Yeah, but do you stab? I don't bite.
Be aware of that. Nurse Kaboom doesn't bite, but if she has some sharp objects, you will have to be careful. Once again, this is Ghostlight Odyssey. We saw them earlier this week with the Fun Police, and I do like Nurse Kaboom. There is one beloved chatter that believes there's a man underneath Nurse Kaboom. If you are, well done. You tricked me. Keep pretending that you're a lady, and we can keep going forward, because a man's cock, that's gay, but a lady's cock, that's just fine and dandy.
How's your head?
I haven't had any complaints yet.
Excuse me?
Oh, I think I'll live.
All right. So we do know that the head of Nurse Kaboom has never had any complaints. But what about the undercarriage features? I believe that there are normal undercarriage features, but yeah, some of my beloved chatters do not believe so. So we are right around an hour, what I do like to keep this show at. And boy, did I have a lot more to say. I used here verbal Pepto-Bismol. I was not. I only added to the shit. And I suppose I failed my mission in that right. But Tony Khan, as I've said before, I do love being in a writer's room. I love giving constructive criticism. I love being a script doctor. So if you can ever find it in your head to realize that everything that comes out of your mouth is not genius, then I would love to come on your team the way that Chris Jericho came on Kylie Ray and be a part of that process. I would probably rip my hair out, since you would bring me into the fart-smelling gas chamber. Dillon from somewhere at gmail.com is where you can contact me, Tony Khan, because since you are such an internet tough guy and I tagged you on Twitter, come on, get me over like you got Jinder Mahal over. That is all for this channel this week. We are coming back next week with more co-host auditions, possibly a chatting with beloved chatters if I do the due diligence to book a guest. There's actually a few comedians I would like to book that are and are not in this hackverse of ours. Some people that have gotten into the Maryland comedy scene years after the fact. So check up with them, see how that scene is that I left. If I was going to be a stand-up, I really should have stayed there rather than going to Los Angeles. But I did get a dream role that no one will ever see. So that's frustrating that the role of a lifetime that I had, no one will ever see, but it happened. It happened. Hooray. Boo that you won't get to see it. I do like being a comedy writer, but stand-up, I'm not a big fan of that grind. That is all for this week. Thank you all for joining. Now, feel free to go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Places all. All join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LS, MFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right to your honey with the right to left date. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girl. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LS, MFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a lucky strike.